Now we're going to begin the digestive system. The digestive system has two main components: the digestive tract, which is a muscular tube or highway of the digestive system, and then the 10 accessory organs, which are the 10 individual organs that are necessary for the whole process of digestion. There are 6 functions of the digestive system. They are ingestion, mechanical processing, digestion, secretion, absorption, and excretion. Let's go through them individually. Ingestion is the active process of putting materials into the oral cavity and entering our digestive tract through the mouth. Mechanical processing is the physical breakdown of the materials. This is necessary for easy enzymatic consumption. It's done through mastication or the chewing of the food. Digestion is the chemical breakdown of the foods into small organic parts for the absorption by the digestive epithelium. Secretion is the release of various components such as water, acids, enzymes, buffers, salts by the epithelium of the digestive tract. Absorption is the movement of the organic substrates, the carbohydrates, lipids, amino acids, electrolytes, vitamins, into fluids of the digestive tract. And excretion is the elimination of the waste products from the body. The name for that is defecation or bowel movement. It's the ejection of food waste from the large intestine out through the anus. Feces is the final product or waste of ingestion. Now let's cover the 10 accessory organs and the digestive pathway. Number 1 is the oral cavity. That includes the teeth and tongue. This is the mechanical process, moistening and mixing of the salivary secretions. 2, the salivary glands. They secrete the lubricating fluids that contain the enzymes that break down carbohydrates. 3, the pharynx. The pharynx is unique in that both the respiratory and digestive system are parallel at this point. The pharynx are the muscles that propel materials into the esophagus. The esophagus that transports food materials into the stomach. It's parallel to the trachea. The stomach is where the chemical breakdown of materials by acids, enzymes, or mechanical process of food by muscular contractions takes place. So the oral cavity and the stomach do both mechanical and chemical digestion. 6 is the liver. That secretes the bile. It stores the nutrients, the fat-soluble vitamins, and lipid digestion. 7 is the gallbladder. It's the storage and concentration of the bile. 8 is the pancreas. The pancreas contains both endocrine and exocrine cells. The endocrine cells make insulin, which is part of the endocrine system, but the exocrine cells secrete buffers and digestive enzymes for digestion. 9 is the small intestine, and that's where the enzymatic digestion and absorption of water and organic substrates, vitamins, and ions take place. And last is the large intestine, where dehydration and compaction of indigestible materials for elimination take place. Moving from right to left, we see the whole digestive system pictured from the oral cavity to the anal rectum. As we move to the right, we see the oral cavity. Then to the far right, we see the stomach. Then the lower right-hand corner, we see the esophagus, liver, gallbladder, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and rectum. And then the lower left-hand corner of the pancreas. Again, this is a picture of the digestive system, the actual digestive path, and all the 10 accessory organs. Now let's begin the actual divisions of the digestive system. First, we cover peristalsis. Peristalsis is the movement of food down the digestive tract by ways of muscular contractions. Deglutition is the actual swallowing of food or swallowing. Now we go to the oral cavity. The oral cavity has 4 main functions. 1, it analyzes the food before swallowing by taste. Number 2, it does the mechanical processing or chewing of food. 3, there's the lubrication of food within the mouth. And 4, there's limited digestion. So the oral cavity does both mechanical and chemical digestion. Next is the tongue. There are 4 main functions. it compresses and mixes the food materials, it assists in the chewing process, it allows sensory analysis, and 4, it secretes lingual lipase, which is an enzyme. Lastly, the saliva. The salivary glands produce about 1 to 1.5 liters of saliva a day. About 99.4% of the saliva is made of water. About 0.6 or 0.6% is electrolytes. The jobs of the saliva include lubricating the mouth and dissolving chemicals to stimulate taste buds. Next are the teeth. The teeth are necessary for physical change and mastication, or the chewing of food. There are 4 main types. The incisors are the large front teeth that allow the cutting of food into bits. The cuspids, or canines, are involved in tearing and slashing of foods. And the bicuspids assist in crushing the food particles. And then the molars are the largest teeth in the far back, and they crush the food. 2 diseases that we need to be aware of is gingivitis. Gingivitis is the inflammation of gums due to bacterial growth. And plaque is the hard, stained, discolored teeth caused by leftover foods. These are both degenerative diseases of the mouth, and we need to keep our gums healthy and teeth healthy. Then we go to the stomach. There are 4 main functions. Number 1, it holds the ingested foods. Number 2, it allows mechanical breakdown of foods. Number 3, the enzymes allow chemical breakdown of foods. And number 4, it produces the glycoproteins, and that help absorbs the B12 vitamins. Now let's begin the phase of food digestion in the stomach. The cephalic phase is when we see, smell, taste, or think of food. We actually trigger the central nervous system. It may cause salivation or hunger. Second is the gastric phase. That begins when the food actually arrives in the stomach and the stomach muscles stretch, and actually causes the pH to lower, or increasing the acid production in the stomach for chemical digestion. And the third phase is the intestinal phase. That's where the food breaks down into chyme, which is a paste-like material, and enters the small intestine. The small intestine is the most important accessory organ of the digestive system because it performs the absorption and the final digestion of the nutrients from all food sources taken into the body. The small intestine's average length is about 20 feet. Next, we have the pancreas. It's located behind the stomach, and it's important for the production of digestive enzymes. Next, we have the liver. The liver is the largest visceral organ of the body. It weighs about 3 pounds, and it has a reddish-brown color, and it performs 3 main functions. Number 1, it regulates metabolism. Number 2, it regulates blood. Number 3, it produces bile. As we continue with the liver, it also performs the following functions. It regulates carbohydrate metabolism. It helps stabilize glucose levels, or what we call the body's blood sugar levels. It also regulates and stores fats, lipid metabolism, and production of cholesterol. And then it also stores the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Now there's something called liver disease. Liver disease can either cause liver damage, and in extreme cases can lead to death. The good news about the liver, it can heal itself. The bad news about the liver, it's very hard to heal because it has very low vascular properties. In other words, it has poor blood circulation, poor blood flow. Cirrhosis is a type of liver disease, and it can be caused by a viral infection or the issues with alcohol. Alcohol can cause cirrhosis of the liver along with other diseases. There are such things as liver transplants. However, they're usually reserved for younger patients. And then there is an artificial liver called ELAD, and that's an artificial liver transplant for chronic sufferers. Again, these are usually done with younger patients. Next, we go to the large intestine. That lies below the stomach and starts from the small intestine to the anal rectum. It has 3 main functions. It's the absorption of water and the transformation of food into actual feces. It's the storage of the feces before defecation or bowel movement. That's going to the bathroom. and final absorption of major vitamins. Now let's cover some diseases or issues with the large intestine. Diarrhea is the removal of food waste in a liquid state. It's caused by frequent watery bowel movements due to improper digestion or bacteria. It can also be caused by bacteria or food allergies or food poisoning, and that can infect the small intestine and cause an overproduction of fluids, which will result in diarrhea. We can take medicines, sometimes over the counter, and sometimes prescribed medicines to stop diarrhea. In extreme cases, we would have to be hospitalized and get an IV due to dehydration. A second type of disease could be cholera. This is a disease of the small intestine from bacteria that causes explosive diarrhea. In this case, we usually need prescribed medicines, and we usually need to go to the hospital because if it's not taken care of, it can cause death within hours due to severe water loss and dehydration of the body. The opposite of diarrhea or cholera would be constipation, and that's a difficulty defecating because the feces has become hard and dry and you have limited bowel movements. It can be caused by limited water, limited fiber, ineffective probiotics in your diet. It can be treated with water, fiber, probiotics, or laxatives when necessary. Now let's go over the aging effects on the digestive system. Number one, the epithelial cells decline in growth. This leads to more easily damaged bowels, also peptic ulcers. Secondly, smooth muscle tone decreases. Peristalsis decreases due to weakened muscles. Some elderly people suffer more constipation and production of hemorrhoids. Number three, the oral cavity is damaged. There's generally a loss of teeth in the elderly. It's common for them to get dentures and crowns due to aging and gingivitis. Number four, drinking heavy alcohol damages the liver after years. Liver cancer or liver cirrhosis of the liver can develop. Cancer rates increase in colon cancer, stomach, oral cancer is more common in the elderly. Loss of bone mass, low calcium increases tooth loss and bone mass loss. And then finally, the olfactory or the sense of smell decreases, and so diet and nutritional behaviors also are affected. Now let's begin diet and nutrition. Nutrition is the absorption of nutrients from food. Everyone has slightly different nutritional requirements and eating habits based on culture and availability. A balanced diet is maintaining homeostasis by proper digestion of foods, minerals, and vitamins. Malnutrition is an unhealthy state caused by having too much or not enough nutrients in your diet. The food pyramid is on www.mypyramid.gov. It includes 1, the grains, that's breads and cereal group, rice, pasta, etc. Carbohydrates allow fuel. Usually the recommended allowance is about 3 ounces. Vegetables, they suggest eat more dark green, orange veggies, dried beans, and peas. Number 3 is fruit. Eat a variety of fresh fruit, canned, frozen, dried. However, avoid juices. Don't drink your calories. And then 4 would be oils. That includes fish oil, peanut oil, and vegetable oil. That should make up your diet. Limit the butter, margarine, lard, and solid fats. Number 5 is the milk group. Get calcium-rich foods. Choose low-fat or fat-free milk, yogurt, or cheese. If you can't tolerate milk products, choose lactose-free products. And number 6 are the meat and beans. Go lean on protein. Choose lean meats and poultry. Bake, broil, or grill. Eat more fish, beans, or peas. Here you can see the new food pyramid, and it limits the high glycemic food. It limits the red meat and butter, the solid saturated fats. It also includes daily exercise at the bottom of the food pyramid. And you could see how it begins from the bottom up, what you should eat the most and then what you should eat the least. This is a slightly different version of the food pyramid, basically all the same, but it goes into the actual types of foods to make it more concrete. Now let's go over minerals. Minerals are inorganic ions released by the breakdown of electrolytes. Their functions include neurotransmitter release, brain cell regulation, and enzymatic breakdown of substrates. Vitamins, there are two main groups, fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. The fat-soluble vitamins include vitamin A, D, E, and K. Vitamin A maintains your skin, the epithelium. Vitamin D allows bone growth, but more than that, it also has immune defense system activities and also almost acts as a hormone now, the new research shows. Vitamin E prevents wrinkling of skin and strengthens the heart, and vitamin K helps liver synthesis. Second are the water-soluble vitamins. They include vitamin C and all the B vitamins. The B vitamins help absorb food and nutrients and increase energy. Niacin, vitamin B3, allows the breakdown of nutrients in vegetables. There's something called hypervitaminosis. That's where you can have too much mineral or vitamin intake, usually due to vitamin pills. It can cause nausea, vomiting, headaches, hair loss, and possible death. Next is a calorie. We measure food energy in the form of a calorie. A calorie is the amount of energy / work required to raise the body temperature 1 gram of water up 1 degree Celsius. There's about 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. That's why most nutritionists will put you in a negative calorie deficit of about 500 calories a day. So you have a potentially 3,500 in a week and potentially could lose a pound of fat a week. Let's cover eating disorders. Eating disorders are a psychological problem that causes the physical harm to a person that views distorted body images of themselves, which makes them eat dangerously. Females will suffer this 90% of the time. Men will suffer approximately 10%. Those could be off. It may be females 88, men 12, but they're approximations. A specific eating disorder is called anorexia nervosa. It's a disorder when a person thinks they were overweight or fat, when realistically they are fine or underweight. Here are some of the symptoms and causes for anorexia. They're 30% underweight. They tend to starve themselves hours to days at a time. There's a lot of peer pressure or envy for beauty and popularity. They tend to be high achievers or perfectionists. If it's a woman, they're usually famous, and they tend to be models or gymnasts or actors. Men, they tend to usually be athletes, and usually they're wrestlers or people that are in weight class sports. Some of the side effects of anorexia nervosa include dry skin, swelling, decreased heart rates and blood pressure, loss of muscle and bone mass, and strange menstrual cycles in the women. Treatments, number one treatment is seek psychological and nutritional help. It's hard to treat anorexia. 50 to 60% of the people will have a 5-year process. Extreme anorexics usually die. There's about a 10 to 15% of them will die. Another eating disorder is bulimia. Bulimia is a disorder where when a person goes on an eating binge, they can eat for hours, like 5,000 to 10,000 calories at a time. Something like 10 Big Macs, for example, and then would self-vomit after eating to get rid of the calories. It's more common than anorexia, and bulimics are much harder to diagnose since they do eat some food. The symptoms can be similar, but they also include damage to the stomach, esophagus, the oral cavity. They may have yellow teeth and cavities, bad breath, diarrhea, and heart problems. Some of the causes include peer pressure and depression, and the treatment is very similar to anorexia. They need to get professional help, both psychological and nutritional help. These are two images of people with eating disorders. Now let's talk about water. Water is the most important thing that will ever enter your body. It's more important than food. It's needed to keep all your organs alive and lubricated. You can go longer without food than you can without water. The daily recommended water intake is 8 glasses of water a day, 8 ounce glasses of water a day. It usually adds up to about 2.5 liters. A better indicator would be take your body weight and divide by 2. You need about a half an ounce of water per pound. So if you take your body weight, divide by 2, the number you get will give you the ounces you need in water. Water keeps the skin healthy and prevents wrinkles, pimples, and rashes. It allows all systems to work properly, specifically the digestive system and the urinary system. Now, one of the things that water helps us do is thermoregulation. And that's the homeostatic maintenance of the body temperature to survive in an environment. Normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Damage can occur if the body temperature falls below 96 degrees Fahrenheit or goes above 108 degrees Fahrenheit. There's something called the mechanisms of heat transfer, and there's 4 basic mechanisms. Radiation is the loss of heat from a higher source to a lower source. Example would be the sun increasing the temperature and going to our skin, and the sun to our skin would cause a temperature increase of our skin. There's something called the conduction, number 2. That's direct transfer of energy by physical contact. For example, if you sit on a chair, like if it's in PE or even a classroom desk, and it's cold, and then the warmth from your body transfers to the seats in the class or and the PE class. Convection is the loss of heat by movement of air onto your skin. An example would be running in the hot sun or wind, and that would maintain the heat balance. As the air goes over your skin, the heat would leave your skin and go into the air. And then the next one, number 4, is evaporation. That's the transformation of liquid to vapor or gas. Every hour we lose about 20 to 25 milliliters of water through sweat, and that happens through evaporation. So an example would be we exercise and we sweat, then we go outside or go into the air-conditioned home or gym, and the sweat leaves your body and turns to gaseous or water vapor or gaseous water into the air. The part of the brain that maintains body temperature is called the hypothalamus, and there's a couple disorders that deal with temperature in the body. The first one is heat exhaustion, and heat exhaustion is a serious heat disorder, and it's caused by difficulty of maintaining blood volume due to large fluid loss. Blood flow to the brain decreases. That is terrible. It's a dangerous situation. Symptoms could include headache, nausea, or extreme sweating. Treatment would be stop activity, get cold water, move into the shade. A lot of times, if a person has severe heat exhaustion, they're going to call 911, and they may even start an IV. But they're definitely going to, the people are not going to be feeling very well. After heat exhaustion, we go to number 2, heat stroke. This is a much more serious condition that occurs. And the hypothalamus stops working, and then the sweat glands shut down. The symptoms of heat stroke is there is no sweating, and there's hot, dry skin. And the skin's color would be a very red skin color. The body temperature would spike to 106 and may go up to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. At this point, there's going to be vomiting, cell death, and all organs would soon stop working and shut down. That includes the heart and lungs. Obviously, the treatment is stop, call 911. You're going to need to be given an IV. You're going to be rushed to the hospital. The paramedics or EMTs are going to take you there. You're going to try to get them to drink cold water, get into a shaded area. place into an ice bath, and like I said, go to the hospital, get an IV. Now, the opposite of heat exhaustion and heat stroke is hypothermia. And hypothermia, the body becomes exposed to extreme cold environment and then drops the temperatures below 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It causes shaking, increased heart rates, anxiety, and in extreme cases can lead to death. An example would be a skier that's stuck in an avalanche or someone who fell overboard in the Titanic icy waters. The next two images show you the fetal pig dissection, and you're able to see the liver, the lung, the small intestine, and then the rib cage. Again, the liver, the testes, the body wall, and the small intestines. And that concludes this lecture on the digestive system.